So this video is a quick review on multiplying and dividing fractions. So I think this is easier actually than adding and subtracting fractions because you don't need to make a common denominator. So you don't have to go that extra step. So let's see some examples of how this works. Okay, so in my first example I have 2 over 7 times 5 over 8. So all I do when I multiply fractions is I just multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So I have 2 times 5 is 10, over 7 times 8 is 56. So it's 10 over 56. But just like in the multiplying and dividing integers video, I'm going to drop the multiplication sign in just from here on out. So the second question here is exactly the same as the first. I just dropped that multiplication sign. So same thing, 2 times 5 is 10, over 7 times 8 is 56. Okay, I should also reduce my answers as well. So here, let's actually look up at the top one. So 10 over 56, I can reduce that. So I know I can divide both the top and the bottom, both the numerator and denominator, by 2. So 10 divided by 2 is going to be 5, and 56 divided by 2 is 28. So that fraction does reduce to 5 over 28. So let's actually see how you can get that easier in the second one here. So I can use a method, what's called cross-canceling. So what that means is I'm going to look diagonally to see if these numbers have any common factors within them. So if I look first at 2 and 8, so I see that 2 and 8 have common factors. I can divide them both by 2. So when I do that, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I can reduce my fractions before I multiply and then have bigger numbers that I have to reduce. And then I can look at 5 and 7. Well, 5 and 7 don't have any common factors, so that's as low as I can go. So now I've changed my question a little bit. I've reduced my fractions already, so I have 1 over 7 times 5 over 4. So if I do that multiplication again, straight across the top and straight across the bottom, I have 1 times 5 is 5, over 7 times 4 is 28. So you see that I've reduced my final answer here is already reduced. So that saved me from maybe having to get really big numbers when I multiply across the top and the bottom and having to find common factors. So cross-canceling is really good and really useful. So let's try it in the second one as well. So I have negative 1 over 6 times negative 3/4. Well, same as with integers, the signs matter. So a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. And then I can look at cross-canceling. So 1 and 4, well, they don't have any common factors. Like if I divide them both by 1, it doesn't change anything. And then 6 and 3, so I can divide both of those by 3. So when I do that, 3 divided by 3 is going to be 1, and 6 divided by 3 is going to be 2. So now my fractions, I haven't changed the signs on the fractions. Those stayed. I just reduced the numbers. Okay, so then when I have a negative times a negative, it'll give me a positive, and I'll have 1 times 1 is 1, over 2 times 4, which is 8. Okay, and then in the last one here, I have positive 9/10 times negative 5 over 6. So I have a positive times a negative, so I know my answer is going to be negative. And then I look for cross-canceling again. So 10 and 5, if I look at those ones first, so 10 and 5 have a common factor of 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1, 10 divided by 5 is 2. 9 and 6, they also have a common factor. I can divide them both by 3. So 9 divided by 3 would be 3, and 6 divided by 3 would be 2. So I've changed my first fraction. So now I have 3 halves times negative 1/2. So it's going to be 3 times 1 is 3, over 2 times 2 is 4. So my answer is negative 3/4. So instead of going through and getting negative 45 over 60 and then having to reduce from that stage all the way down to the negative 3/4, I've done it by cross-canceling. Okay, so this is you want to use the method of cross-canceling. So let's see some examples with division. Okay, so 2 over 7 divided by 6 over 7. So what I do when I'm dividing fractions is I'm going to keep the first fraction the same, so 2 over 7, change to multiplication, and then I flip the second fraction. So I take the reciprocal of the second fraction. So now I have 2 over 7 times 7 over 6. So I flip this guy. So now what I do is I cross-cancel if I can. So I see that, well, 7 and 7 both have a common factor of 7, so I can get rid of those. So those become 1 because I divide them both by 7. And 2 and 6 also have common factors. I can divide them both by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So I have 1 over 1, so just 1 times a third, which is 1/3. Okay. And again, I want to get rid of that division symbol as well. I probably shouldn't have used the time symbol there. I should have just put okay, being messy, I should probably just put brackets around like that. So now I have 9 over 4 divided by 6. So what I do when it's in this form is I'm going to do the same thing as what I saw above, but I'm going to write, so the 6 right now is just a whole number, but I can write it as a fraction by putting it over 1. So now what I do is I keep my first fraction or my top fraction the same, so 9/4. I change to multiplication, and then it was 6 over 1, but now I'm going to reciprocate it so it becomes 1 over 6, the denominator. So now I have 9/4 times 1 over 6, and again I look to see if I can cross cancel. So 1 and 4, well that doesn't matter because it's just a 1. So 9 and 6 have a common factor of 3, so I can divide them both by 3. So now I have 3/4 times a half, so I end up getting 3 over 8. So 3 times 1, and then, so here 3 times 1, and then 4 times 2 gives me this answer here. Okay, and then in the last one, I have a -3/2 divided by a +1/3. So again, I have a negative divided by a positive, so I know my answer is going to be negative. I have to remember those sign rules. And before I even do that, I'm going to have to flip and multiply. So keep my top fraction the same, so -3/2. And then times, I have to reciprocate the bottom fraction, so it will be, it was 1 over 3, so now it'll be 3 over 1. Okay, and then I know I have a positive or a negative times a positive, so I know my answer will be negative. And I look to see if I can cross cancel, and I can't. So 3 and 1, again, there's a 1, so it doesn't matter if I divide by 1, it doesn't change anything. And 2 and 3 don't have any common factors, so no cross canceling. So I just multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So I get -9/2. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching. Good luck with the assignments.